According to many different ancient traditions, the world is going to shift. It is going to shift from a state of chaos into the next world. At the moment, I'm really enjoying working with the Hopi prophecies that talk about how our fourth world is going to shift into the fifth world. We're going to go from being an animal and shift into being what they call a real human being. Our understanding of shifting from 3D to 5D is the same thing. We're going from this third dimensional matrix narrative to a new frequency of heaven on earth and being able to communicate spiritually, telepathically, being able to create our reality with our intentions, living in peace and harmony and love and empathy, and having direct connection to all of the spiritual realms. That's a wonderful idea. So this is something that just about every religion believes in some way or other. So the question is, do you have the ability to decide if you're going to shift? Do you want that? Or do you have any doubts or any fears? Or are you interested in knowing how to decide to make the shift? So as you saw here on the thumbnail, you will shift if you do this. And it has nothing to do with being a good person or a bad person. It has nothing to do with whether or not you've spent your life doing good things, or even if you've done literally 10 minutes ago the most horrible things you can imagine. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with what we are going to talk about. And in my experience, based on my belief, my observation, my communication with higher dimensional beings who live in these higher frequencies, I am going to share with you exactly what it is that I believe you can do. I believe that you can choose and you can have control over whether or not you stay in this lower frequency or move into the higher frequency when the shift occurs. So to do that, we need to talk about assumptions. So your assumptions dictate your choices. Your choices dictate your reality. So the question is whether or not you consciously and deliberately make assumptions, or whether or not assumptions are programmed into you, or whether or not you unconsciously attach yourself to assumptions, whether or not they are accurate or not. So before we get into that, what we're doing here is we're talking about critical thinking. So a lot of people don't know what critical thinking is. Critical thinking is not thinking intellectually about things. That's not what critical thinking is. Critical thinking involves a few different steps. The first one is that you acknowledge that everybody that comes to you with an assumption, including me, has an emotional agenda surrounding that assumption. So the other assumption is that when somebody comes to you with their assumption, you are going to have an emotional reaction to that assumption. Then the question is whether or not the person giving you the assumption is aware that they have an emotional attachment to the assumption, and whether or not you are aware that you are going to have an emotional reaction to their assumption. So I started off this video by giving you an assumption that according to many spiritual teachings, this world is going to shift into a different frequency, into a different world. If I just came to you and said, the world is going to shift, that is my assumption. So I soften the blow by saying, and ancient people believe, I believe. It gives you a little space to decide whether or not you want to believe it. But you have to know that you're going to have an emotional reaction. So the first question you have to ask is, the person coming to you, are they Did they consciously choose this assumption, or were they emotionally, unconsciously attached to it, and they're being run around by their unconscious emotional attachments? That's not somebody you want to talk to, because they're not going to be able to have the ability to decide whether or not this is accurate. You have to know whether or not you're going to have an emotional reaction. And you have to be able to be aware when you're listening to somebody, your reaction, you have to be able to go, okay, am I just reacting emotionally? Or is this person making sense or not making sense? Okay? It's incredibly important. This is how religions are made. I used to be a born-again Christian. I used to go knocking on people's door with the 4 spiritual laws. And we would say things like, Jesus died for your sins. You were born in sin. Therefore, you are separate from God. Therefore, God must throw you into hell. Therefore, you need a Savior. Those are all assumptions. Each assumption is built on the first one, which is that you are born in sin. Now, if you don't accept that assumption, the rest of the assumptions are meaningless and don't have any effect on you. If you accept that first assumption, you will become emotionally attached. That's the design of that. When somebody says, you were born in sin, it's designed to get you to emotionally react negatively out of fear. Oh my God. Well, what do I got to do? Well, you're now separate from God. Oh my God, I am? You're not thinking critically at all, because you can decide to go, wait a minute, I don't know, do I believe that I'm born in sin? I don't know if I believe that. But in order to do that, you have to not be emotionally attached to your reaction to the assumption. Okay? Have I made that clear? This is not about turning your feelings off. This is about watching and then deciding. Because this will determine whether or not you are able to take, even if your life is horrible, the worst possible total failure you can imagine, and you think, I'm not spiritual, I can't make it, I'm not like these people who are living this spiritual happy life, I'm alcoholic, drug addict, whatever, and I'm not going to make it. That has nothing to do with it. The question is, right now, this moment, can you make the decision to look at your assumptions and then decide what assumptions you want to believe? Because your assumptions dictate your choices, and your choices dictate your reality. Now, that's an assumption. Your assumptions dictate what you're going to do next. If I'm going to jump off the cliff, that's going to be based on an assumption that I have. If I believe that I can fly, that assumption will then dictate my choice to run and jump off the cliff. If my assumption is that, no, there's this thing called gravity, and if I jump off the cliff, I'm going to fall to my death, then that assumption is going to affect my decisions and my choices and my actions. Got it? So we have to know when it comes to this. All right. So either you emotionally react and attach to an assumption that mirrors your feelings, or you choose an assumption that empowers you to choose your reality. So let's start with the first part. Either you emotionally react and attach to an assumption that mirrors your feelings. Now, if the Christian comes and knocks on your door, and you just came out of a meditation where you were in deep samadhi awareness, and you can feel the energy, and you're filled with bliss, and you looked God in the face, or whoever it was, and knocks on the door and says, hi, I want to talk to you about Jesus. And you say, okay. And he says, you were born in sin, you are going to go to hell. Your emotional state is not going to put you in a position to react to that, because you're not in a state of fear. You're going to go, no, that's not my experience at all. Anyway, I wish you all the best, but yeah, this isn't for me. Now, If you're somebody that you've had a life that's been horrible, and again, we talked about the drug addict, life is horrible, they're miserable. They live in poverty. They have horrible luck. They're sick. They're addicted. They're emotionally, psychologically drained and miserable. Christian comes, I want to talk to you about God. You say, okay. And he says, you were born in sin. You are separated from God. That person is going to go, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. Keep talking. What that means is that person reacted to their emotions because the assumption mirrored their current emotions. And so that gave them a sense of validity, like somebody is validating them. But they're not doing that. See, here's the thing. Person didn't knock on the door and say, hey, how are you? And I'm horrible, I'm an addict, and I'm in pain. Oh my God, that must be so awful. I'm so sorry. You must feel really helpless. And yeah, I feel all these horrible things. So that's actually validating somebody's feelings. So the less spiritually and psychologically conscious way to do that is to come to them and throw an assumption at them that mirrors their feelings. So you say, you were born in sin. God is angry with you. He is separate from you. He's going to throw you into hell. You need a Savior. Now, if you emotionally feel that way, you were just praying, oh God, please help me, my life is... And somebody comes and tells you that, your emotions are going to go, and you're going to get emotionally attached. So that's the first way. You either you emotionally react and attach to an assumption given to you that mirrors your feelings, or you choose an assumption that empowers you to choose your reality. So in the case we just talked about, that guy doesn't feel like he has the power. In fact, his experience says he doesn't have any power to choose his reality. He needs somebody to come and save him. Somebody, a lot of people who have experiences in life can look back on their experiences and go, no, I've changed my reality a lot of times. But what if you've never experienced it? Then can you adopt the assumption that I say down there, which is you choose an assumption that empowers you to choose your reality? Would you like to have that? If so, keep watching. All right, so assumption number one. This is a very popular assumption. I'll tell you, my emotional reaction is I'm frustrated by it because I want to help people. I have a deep desire to help people, and I want as many people as possible to be able to make this shift into the new world. So my entire life is focused on that. So I'm telling you, I have a strong emotional agenda about this. So what annoys me is people who have this belief. That it doesn't so much annoy me that people have the belief that they are in a prison planet, but that they seem to be unwilling to let go of that assumption. My experience is when I tell people, people who want to tell me, when I say you chose to come here, you chose to have this life, they usually won't talk about themselves. Again, that's a sign of a lack of emotional maturity. They'll talk about somebody else. They'll say, what about the poor, crippled children in that third world country? Are you telling me they chose to live like that? No, and we were forced to be here. This is a prison planet. We've been forced to live here. The archons, the beings of light, have forced us down here, and so they're very attached to that belief. Now again, if they weren't emotionally attached to that belief, if they really wanted freedom, and I come along and I say, oh, by the way, you chose your life. The good news is if you chose this horrible reality and created it, it means that you can choose to create a different one. They don't hear the second half. They only hear the first half, which they hear as a condemnation. What they think I'm saying is, you're such a stupid idiot you've chosen it. You did it to yourself. When their experience is they didn't do it to themselves. They didn't choose it. It was done to them. So by me not co-signing their belief, they feel as though I'm not validating their feelings. And so they react from that, and they don't even hear the second part of what I'm saying. So, assumption number 1, prison planet. This is the assumption. The assumption is that you did not create yourself. You did not choose to be here. You cannot change your reality. So my question to you is, how do you feel when you hear this assumption? And does this assumption describe your experience of Earth? Don't go anywhere else. Just stay with the feeling. We're not doing anything. We're not accepting or rejecting the assumption. We are just listening to it. So listen to it again from your feelings. Don't make any decisions about it. You did not create yourself. You did not choose to be here. You cannot change your reality. So that is what the prison planet says. People say, don't go into the light, because the assumption is if you go into the light, you'll be forced to come back. They'll say false beings of light will tell you to come back. False beings of light want to trap you into reincarnation. So the assumption is that light has the ability to be false. That's an assumption. And as we've been talking about in the previous video, this is people's actual emotional reality. Their emotional reality is that they feel that they did not choose to come here. And their experience in their life is that they've been forced to live a horrible, cruel existence. Their experience has led them to believe that no matter what they do, they cannot change their reality. So somebody comes along, I talk about Gnosticism because this is what Gnosticism teaches. It teaches, by the way, now that I've looked at Gnosticism, Gnosticism teaches that you were created by an evil being of darkness, a false god. You were created by a false god, and your spirit was given to you in secret by his mother, who went behind his back and put your spirit in. So even the belief starts with the assumption that you were not self-created, that other beings created you and that they had power over you. So you may not realize that having that feeling of not having any power over who you are is not the same as whether or not you are actually controlled by other beings. So give yourself the option to have the feeling and the experience that you've been controlled, and know that that's a feeling, and give yourself the option to believe that there might be another reality to this. But in order to do that, you first have to be willing to let go of your emotional attachment. Again, people get mad at me when I tell them they chose to be here and that they can make their life better. They don't get to the second part, you can make your life better, because they feel I'm criticizing them because I'm not validating their feelings. However, somebody else comes along and says, you know what? We live in a prison planet, and these beings are false beings of light. They're lying to you. They're keeping you trapped here. Now they feel emotionally validated, and they accept the whole belief and the conclusions that come with it. So you can have your feelings. You can relate. When I tell you, if I came to you and said, you live in a prison planet, you didn't create yourself, you don't have any choice, you are only something that is being narcissistically fed on by some other higher being. If all of your emotional buttons go off, that doesn't mean it's true. It means that's how you feel. So give yourself that space. So the assumption of the prison planet is you did not create yourself, you did not choose to be here, you cannot change your reality. How do you feel when you hear this assumption, and does it describe your experience here on Earth? Now let's go into a completely different assumption, and I want you to do the same thing. I just want you to listen to your emotional reactions to it. I don't want you to go into whether or not you believe it or don't believe it. I want you to go into whether or not emotionally you like it or don't like it. If it makes you feel as though haven't been heard, that your feelings are not validated. Or if you have the opposite feeling, and that's exactly how, what you want to hear. Just for right now, listen to your emotional reactions. So assumption number 2, that this planet is a school. The assumption is you did create yourself, you chose to be here, and you can change your reality. So how do you feel when you hear this assumption? Does this describe your experience of Earth? So those can be totally different. You might hear that and get angry, as many people do, because they don't realize it, but they think that I'm invalidating their feelings of their experience, which I'm not. Other people who have successful lives go, yeah, that's exactly, I love this. So they emotionally react positively. You can also be in a third category, which is where you hear it and you go, that is not my experience. I'm frustrated when I hear you say that because I don't know how to make it happen. But I want it. I want to learn how to do that. So those are just 3 different possibilities. So I'm going to give you the assumption again. Listen to your feelings and don't try to pick the right one. Don't try and, there's nobody watching you. You don't have to give anybody the right answer. Don't virtue signal. Just listen to the feelings before you decide how you want to respond. Assumption 2, the Earth is a school planet. You created yourself. You chose to be here. You can change your reality. Now, how do you feel when you hear this assumption? Does this describe your experience of Earth? All right? So just stick with that. Let's keep going. So the prison planet assumption is designed to mirror your feelings and experience. Acceptance of the prison planet assumption requires no action on your part and results in manifestation of your feelings. So this is different. Each of these assumptions have different mechanisms that do different things to you. They're not just 2 different beliefs. I can believe whatever I want. No, how it lands on you is going to make a huge impact on what you do with it. So the first assumption, that you did not choose to be here, you did not create yourself, and you do not have any power over your reality. If you accept that assumption, it requires nothing from you. And this is where people end up sabotaging themselves, because they stop when they emotionally feel validated. And they go, you know what, that's true, because that's how I feel. Therefore, that's what I believe. Which means if you believe it, you're not going to try and change your life. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to take responsibility. You're going to complain. You think complaining about it is doing something. That's why people watch, videos all day long about how you didn't choose to come here, and the demiurge did it to you, and the archons are doing it to you, and everybody's doing it to you. They watch it over and over, thinking they're accomplishing something, when all they're doing is they're revalidating those feelings. So it doesn't take any choice, doesn't take any action on your part. You just listen to your feelings and you go, yep, I believe that. And then nothing changes. So if your reality mirrors the prison planet assumption and you accept this assumption, you will feel required to defend that reality even if it is not what you want. This is what happens. Again, if I tell people you're not a prisoner, you chose to come here, you actually are creating your reality, whether you realize it or not. But the good news is, if you chose it and you are creating it, it means you can create something new. The reason why they don't hear that part is because they feel required to defend their belief And they will argue with you, call you bad names and all kinds of, but they will get very angry. And if you look at it objectively, that's a very irrational response. When somebody says, here's the key to freedom, and you go, F you, there isn't any freedom. Don't tell me I'm free. Look at that guy in that cell over there. Does he look free to you? He's not free. There's no freedom. So that means that you're a slave. You're a slave to your emotions, which make you a slave to an assumption that gives you something you don't want. And these beliefs, these religions, this propaganda, these gaslighting, are designed to get you to react that way. Now, if you're not predisposed to react that way, guess what happens? They work to take over your life. They force you to go to school. They force you to they force you to do all kinds of things, and your life goes down the tubes, and or you become dependent, and then you start feeling that way, and then they come at you with this religion. Well, Jesus will save you. Oh my God, thank you. And then you bypass the whole mechanism of accepting that you're a prisoner, you're a victim. And that being a victim means you're going to create a victim reality. You bypass all of that. So the prison planet assumption is designed to mirror your feelings and experience. Acceptance of it requires no action and results in manifestation of your feelings. If your reality mirrors the prison planet assumption and you accept this assumption, you will feel required to defend that reality, even if it's not what you want. In other words, you'll defend it. It'll just be a reaction. There won't be any thought process. You will never stop and go, wow, that sounds a lot better. I think I want that. You won't be able to do that. You'll be locked into a very defensive emotional mindset. See, we were just here, right? Next one. The school planet assumption is designed to awaken a desire. All right, so the prison planet assumption is designed to mirror your feelings and experience. That's different. It is narcissistic mirroring. It's what narcissists do to groom you. So the way that they groom you, the first thing they seek to do is to get you to feel emotionally validated. And when you feel emotionally validated, they capitalize on that. They make themselves your savior, your friend. But they do it on the deepest level of your childish needs, your infantile needs. So your feeling of attachment to them is so strong that you don't have the normal critical thinking skills to stop and go, hang on a second, do I believe this? Is this going to help me? You're only responding from your nervous system response, survival response. And so you don't understand that you immediately attach them to it. It's designed to do that. Whereas an assumption that has to do with your spiritual awakening, what did I say here? The prison planet assumption is all right. So what did I say about the other one? I said the school planet assumption is designed to awaken a desire. Awaken a desire. One is to stimulate a feeling, that's the prison planet. And the other one is to awaken a desire. A feeling is simply a reaction. A desire is something that has to do with achieving a goal. When you have a desire, you say, I want. How can I get it? When you have a feeling, you say, I feel this way, therefore life is that. It doesn't take anything. And again, as an infant, infants want, they cry and mommy comes and gives them something, as mommy should. But as an adult, when people are complaining, we live in a prison planet, the Archon's this, everything is horrible. They're crying. They're waiting for mommy to come and give them their and meet their needs. Mommy's not going to do that. That makes me, I could go off on some things. Anyway, so the school planet assumption is designed to awaken a desire which requires forward action and conscious, deliberate movement. So, school planet assumption is designed to awaken a desire. Acceptance of this assumption requires new actions and results in the manifestation of your desires. Bear in mind, your desires now are something you've never experienced. It's something new, which requires that you take new actions, which requires that you start with a new belief. So you have to let go of the old belief. That means you have to let go of your emotional addiction to seeking to have your feelings validated. This one, you're not seeking to have your feelings validated, you're seeking to have your desire fulfilled. A lot of people can't tell the difference. Can you see the difference? One is retroactive. I've had feelings all this time. I want people to know, and I want you to tell me and validate how horrible these feelings are. Nothing wrong with that. But I just want to stay there. The other one says, okay, yeah, things were bad. Can we move on now? Would you like this better thing? Which means that you have to now accept the idea that you have power. Okay, so if I accept that I have power, that means I can go and get that thing, which is going to give me a new feeling I've never had, and I won't even be thinking about the old one? Exactly. So if your reality becomes the school planet assumption, you will be required to adapt to your new reality. That's different from the old one, which says if you're that the acceptance requires no action and results in manifesting the same old thing over and over again that you've been feeling. If your reality mirrors the prison planet assumption and you accept this assumption, the only actions that you will be taking are to re-empower that assumption, just to keep that assumption going. That's the only thing that you'll be doing in your life, is saying the same thing over and over again, keeping the assumption going. Because you want to be validated. You want to stay where you are and be validated. The other one, you will be required to adapt to your new reality. So the other one is you're doing the same thing over and over again. You know how to be miserable. You know how to create misery and strife and all. You know how to do that. So you stick with what you know. Most people do that because it's comfortable, not because it feels good, but because they understand it. To move into an assumption of power, that you have power, that you can create what you want, you're going to now take new actions, and then when you get what you've created, which will be a brand new world, you will shift up to a higher frequency, and then you will be required to adapt psychologically, emotionally, physically, all kinds of ways. You're going to have to continue to adapt to it because it's going to be new. A lot of people, I've seen people turn around and go back to what they know because it's too frightening to be in a place unknown. Even though I'm not going to say any names, but I've seen people who followed my instructions and they got the life of their dreams. And as the life of their dreams was manifesting, they sabotaged it, nuked it, destroyed it, and went back to what they knew. Because it was too frightening. So you're going to have to adapt to something new. I can tell you this as I'm shifting in and out of this frequency thing. You're going to have to do that. This is not going to be, anyway. It's going to be amazing, but you will have to adapt. You will have to face your fears, face the unknown. You'll have to expand into something greater than what you are now. So ironically, the prison planet inflames the ego and the school planet expands the heart. People accuse me, a lot of times they have anyway, accuse me of being narcissistic and egotistical because I tell you the crazy things that light beings have told me about who I am, who I was in the previous world, and who I am even now as I'm waking up to them, accepting what I believe they're telling me about who I am. That's huge. I mean, and I'm the first one to say it's incredibly grandiose sounding, but it actually takes tremendous ego deflation to decide to accept that reality. Whereas being something else, being just a tiny little human, that doesn't take any new adaptation. And that's actually the ego. The ego just means the self. People think ego means having a huge opinion of yourself. That's not what ego means. Ego is a Greek and Latin, and it just means I. It just means me. In Latin, ego sum, I am. Greek, ego eimi, I am. I am. I am. And the ego of the third dimension is we're little, and we don't have any value. We didn't create ourselves. We're prisoners. That's the identity. So actually, accepting the prison planet is ego inflaming. It inflames your ego. Whereas accepting the higher dimensional, you're an infinite being. You have the power. You created this place. You create all of your reality. You're going to create the new reality. That actually deflates the self because you have to create a new one. Okay, let's keep going. So ask yourself these questions. Number one, what assumption reflects my feelings and experience? Whoops. So before we go any further, just again, nobody's judging you. What assumption what assumption reflects my feelings and experience? Is it that you didn't create yourself and you are a victim and you're controlled by beings outside of you? Just be honest. Is that how you feel? It's okay. You can't see, here's the thing. People judge themselves on their feelings. You don't have any control over your feelings. People say you have to control your feelings, you have to control your thoughts. You can't control your thoughts either. Your thoughts are just reactions to your feelings, and your feelings are reactions. You don't have any control over that. You have control over what you choose to do after you've had a thought and a feeling. You have control over that. But most people, this is the programming of the third dimension. You've been programmed to feel as though you have to act in direct connection to a feeling. The question I get asked most, and this has been the question that has been asked of me the most the whole time I've been on YouTube, which is, people say, how do I get over my fear? So think about that. Their question is, how do I get over my fear? They have an assumption. That assumption was programmed into them. They don't know that, but they've been programmed to believe that they can only do things that they feel. So if you don't feel like you're good at public speaking, you won't public speak. Whereas our ancestors didn't think like that. But before I get off on that tangent, so ask yourself, let's see, am I here? Ask yourself, what assumption reflects my feelings and experience? The prison planet? Do you feel like that? Has that been your experience? Then accept those feelings. It's horrible that you've had that experience. It's painful. I am so sorry that you've gone through that. If nobody's ever told you that, it's horrible. And I'm so, so very sorry that you've had that experience. It must be painful. I can relate. I've had that experience as well. So there, now your feelings have been validated. Your feelings and your experience. I believe your experience. I accept your feelings. I accept how difficult it must feel. I accept that it must feel impossible to change it. So when somebody says to you, you have the power to change your reality, I understand that that must feel so infuriating because you don't feel like you can. You've tried and you can't in your experience. Those are your feelings. Have them. Your feelings don't have to determine your assumptions. Okay, before you react and are forced into an assumption, ask yourself, what assumption do I want to be my experience? This is now, I'm taking you through a lot. We've now been pulling apart your psychological makeup so you can look at it. What I wish I could do to the people when they say I'm a prisoner, I've been forced to be here, false beings of light are trapping me here, blah 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 blah. The first thing I want to say is, well, that means that you don't have any worth because you didn't create yourself. It means you don't have any power. It means there's nothing you can do to change your reality. And then I will say to them, I would want to say to them, do you want to believe this? Now the first reaction is going to say, no, I don't want to believe this. But yet when I give them another assumption, they push that away and they go back to what they know. So I don't know that they're even conscious of what they want. Somebody could make the argument that no, they are wanting to be a prisoner so that they don't have to take the responsibility and go through the adaptation of a new reality and a new ego. That's just too frightening. People could say that about the examples that I mentioned, that they got into it and they just decided, you know what, I don't want this. I want the other one. That's just much easier. So I'm asking you, what assumption do I want to be my experience? Because your assumption will create your experience. It means that if you have a horrible life, it means that your assumptions created it. Because your assumptions dictated your choices and your actions. They also dictated your feelings. But again, you can stop after having a feeling and take a different action. Now I'm going to go into our ancestors. My ancestors, the Norse, they had a philosophy. He who dies in battle goes to Valhalla. People lived like that. People, men especially, when they grew of adult age, they started looking for lands to conquer. They knew that it might kill them. They were more interested in achieving the victory and the status of gaining another land for their people to live in, to go and get on their boat and sail to a new land and conquer it so they could come back and say, look what I did it. They knew that to accomplish their desires, they would have to be willing to die. That is different from the way people are created or programmed now, which is, how do I get over my fear? So imagine going to a Viking who's about to get on his ship and he's got 20 or 30 other Vikings with him, and he's going to go to some land he's never seen before, doesn't know how many people are there, and he's going to go and he's going to take that land, and he knows that somebody's going to die, and he goes, if I die, I'll go to Valhalla. He knows that it's going to be frightening. He knows there's pain involved. He knows there's uncertainty involved. He knows all of this. He feels all of this. Imagine coming to him, you're on the boat with him, and you go, so, Sven, I know we're doing this thing. We're gonna go conquer that other land, and we might get, you know. So how do you get over your fear? Because I don't know if I can do this if I can't get over my fear. Sven is gonna look at you and go, I don't care if you're afraid or not. I care if you show up and have my back. That's what I care about. And it means that our ancestors knew that you had to take actions that were contrary to your feelings. They knew that was part of life and success. They knew that. Spiritual warriors throughout history have known that. People who want to go and people who go to ashrams and meditate and want to become enlightened are doing the same thing. They're dying on a spiritual level, and they know that they're going to go through hardship and pain and fear. So if you have that first response of how do I get over my fear, in other words, as long as I'm afraid, I can't take an action that I have an uncomfortable feeling about. That's an assumption. I'm here to tell you from personal experience, you can take actions, like people do on the battlefield. They poop their pants standing there. They don't leave. The guy just sort of moves away. Okay, steps out of the way. The guy next to me is peeing his pants. That's what happens. That's what happens. So stop trying to get the perfect feeling before you take an action. Just take an action regardless of your feelings. So the assumption says that you chose to come here, that you created your reality, and that you can change your experience. Nowhere in there does it say that you can get the right feeling. Nowhere. So the assumption has to do with, if you accept that I can change my reality, then it doesn't matter what I'm feeling. What matters is I just go out and I believe that I can do it, and then I go do it. By the way, believing you can do it is a choice. It's not a feeling. Well, I don't believe I can do it. I didn't ask you that. You make the decision to just believe. I'm just going to believe I can do it whether I feel like I can or not. That's the power of the assumption. And the assumption that I'm giving you is that the actions that you take will create your reality, not your feelings. It's great if you have a corresponding feeling. It will only help you, but it's not necessary. All right, so the power to ascend to the next world. Let's see, did I get through this one here? So what assumption reflects my feeling that before you react and are forced into an assumption after, okay, do I want this to be my experience? All right, the power to ascend to the next world requires the conscious choice to decide to shift to the next world, which requires the assumption, not the feeling, that you can create your reality. So I'm giving you an assumption. You can choose to accept it or reject it. Here's what will happen if I'm wrong. So what? Your life won't be any worse than it is now. If you choose not to accept this assumption and you go with an assumption of fear, then it's possible that if I'm right, then that assumption will create actions and choices which will continue to create, and this is a bad reality. And this is what is talked about when in the Hopi myth they say that the world is going to shed her skin, and the old skin is going to be the old world, and people who can't rise above it will be pulled down with it. So that assumption says that you will create that reality if you hold on to your assumptions that you're a prisoner. This is how powerful and how important it is to shift that. All right, so the power to ascend to the next world requires conscious choice to decide to shift. So don't wait around for it to happen. Don't wonder when is it going to happen, how is it going to happen, and that's how I believed it when the idea was first given to me by light beings. I thought, oh, something's going to happen. I'm just going to wait around. In fact, I tried to do that. I thought the shift was coming, and I lied in bed all day thinking it was going to come and take me. Obviously, that didn't happen. But even though I do believe the shift is coming, I don't assume that just because the shift is coming that it's going to take me. Because I'm still easily influenced by this third dimensional reality. I'm working very hard to adopt a new understanding in reality. So this new world requires the conscious choice to decide to shift to the next world, which requires the assumption, not the feeling, that you can create your reality. So you can be sitting having the most fearful, doubtful feelings. In fact, get used to it. That's probably what's going to happen. Feeling like you can't do anything. There's no way out of it. This reality, blah, blah, blah. I'm a prisoner. All those things are feelings. You can have those feelings all you want. Don't try and get rid of them. Just accept them. Don't deny them. But while doing that, make the decision that you're going to decide. You're going to go, okay, this feels impossible. I'm frightened. Things are horrible. I don't like what's going on in the world. But I'm going to choose to decide that I'm going to shift. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I just know that I'm making the decision that that's what I want and that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so the shift to the next world requires the assumption, not the feeling, that you can create your reality. So do that. Say, I can. I'm going to choose to believe, even though I don't feel it and I don't have any experience of it. I don't have any idea. I'm going to choose that I can. I can create my reality. I'm choosing to believe that. It's challenging. I have to take new actions and keep reminding myself. So I encourage you to do that. Talk to yourself. Lie to yourself. Even if you don't believe you can change your reality. Walk around your house, driving in the car, saying, I can change my reality. I'm choosing to believe that I can do it. Because then you're giving yourself permission to take different actions. It works. All right. The only way to do this is to decide to take full responsibility for all of your lives you lived in the fourth world. You don't have to be like me and actually relive them. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. The stuff that I've had to relive, and thankfully I haven't relived all of it, but the stuff that I've had to relive so that I could accept my new role in this shift and in the next world, I had to remember. And so I've had to take full responsibility, and you've heard me come on here and apologize. It's a crazy thing. I do it for myself, but I come in and I apologize. I apologize that I destroyed the last world and brought the flood. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. Please forgive me. And then I get over it because I'm just sharing my part. I'm getting my part out of the way. That's just me accepting that. So the point is, you can't feel like a victim and simultaneously take responsibility for your past lives. You can't do it. So you don't even have to know what your past lives are. If your life is miserable and you feel like a victim and you feel like you don't have any power, it's because of past life actions and choices you made. And you made choices and took actions that were not in line with your soul. You don't need to know what they were. If you remember them, great. That's very healing, but you don't have to know. Just know that that's why a lot of whatever karma is on your shoulders, that's why. It's because of actions that you took. That's all you have to do. Just accept it. I can remember when I was in my 20s and I was desperately trying to get over addictions that I had. and I had been sober and clean for a while, but I was absolutely crazy and miserable. And I somehow got this feeling, I don't know where it came from, but I think it came from past lives. I came to this realization. I said, you know what? Whatever pain I'm feeling, I must be doing something right. I'm burning off old karma. Pain just means I'm burning off my old karma. And what that did is it gave me the ability to not respond negatively or impulsively to my horrible feelings. So that is a very helpful mindset, to just go, okay, I'm having a lot of horrible feelings right now, a lot of bad circumstances, bad luck, and you go, all right, this is a result of either choices I've made in this life or in previous lives, and accepting it and moving in a different direction. I will work past this karma. Not, how can I stop feeling this way? No, you're having a bad feeling, that's okay. You're burning off past karma. That, whether it's true or not, that mindset is a mindset of taking full responsibility. Not feeling guilty, that's different. Guilt is actually anger towards other people that you're stuffing and redirecting back at yourself. Guilt never goes away. Full responsibility goes away. You go, okay, it's because I did something. All right, I'll move in a different direction. Whatever feelings I have are the feelings that I have. Okay, so the only way to do this is to decide to take full responsibility for all of your lives you lived in the fourth world. Those who allow themselves to be forced into a prison planet assumption will create that reality. Do you want that? People who need to defend their emotional attachment to their belief that they are prisoners dooms them to create that reality. So when the earth lets go of her old skin, it's going to be filled with people who are victims. So there's no other way. Narcissists are victims. Abusers are victims. They abuse others because they feel victimized. And victims allow themselves to be victimized because that's the narcissist's relationship. That's how they connect to each other. They trade off roles. They play one of those two roles. So the old world is going to be filled with narcissistic victims. So I'm choosing not to throw out phrases, new age phrases that I think are victim mentality, because it's your job to figure out whether or not you're a victim. It's not my job, it's your job. But if you come to the realization that you have an emotional attachment to be a victim, and you have chosen to hold on to that because you want to feel validated, and you resist the idea of letting go of that victim mentality, if you insist on holding on to that victim mentality, it means that you will create the very thing that you say you don't want. So that's a hard truth to hear, but it is real. Because the new reality, both the negative one and the positive one, is going to be one that we create. Our current third dimension, our current fourth world, is a world where you can have a lot of feelings and intentions, but it doesn't necessarily mean it'll manifest immediately. We were here to play with that and to learn about it. And so we had to have some leeway. You won't have any leeway in the next world. The next world, you will create exactly what you think. So that's the bad news. The bad news is if you're committed to being a victim, you can be guaranteed that you will create that, and you will go into the lower new world, and it'll be worse than this one. So that's the bad news. But the good news is that you can create a new reality regardless of how you feel, regardless of how bad things have been, no matter how badly you feel victimized, and no matter how difficult it is for you to choose to believe that you can be the creator of your reality. Even if you don't know how to do it and you're afraid and you feel alone, all of those feelings won't prevent you from shifting. I can tell you that. If you go back, those of you who are newer to my channel, go onto the aliens folder on my channel. Now it's huge, but type in how I became an extraterrestrial. So type that in on my channel, how I became an extraterrestrial. Not on YouTube, because it'll take you somewhere else. On my channel, go and Google how to search on somebody's YouTube channel, and then type in how I became an extraterrestrial, and you will hear my first conscious experience with the mantis being, and you will hear me. You will see, it's an example. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You will hear me on the verge of tears say, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I was doing that deliberately because I was telling that being that I was acknowledging that I was as scared as I'd ever been, but I didn't want him to leave, because I knew that a feeling was different. I was verbalizing the feeling, but behind that was also, and I'm choosing to go beyond this feeling. I'm choosing to stay here with you. I am choosing to make this happen. I'm afraid. It's just a feeling. So you can do that. You can say, I'm afraid, as you are stepping into the ring with Mike Tyson. You can do it. So your past history will not determine where you're going to go. Your current feelings will not determine where you're going to go. Your fears and your confusion will not determine where you're going to go. So that's the good news. Nothing can prevent you except your choice. You just simply have to make the decision. I want to go to the next world. I choose to go to the next world. And I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if it kills me. That's the mindset. It's not going to kill you, but it's helpful to have that mindset. I am here to help you with that. I have done it. I'm still doing it. There's tons of people who have done it and are still doing it. And you don't have to do this alone. My suggestion for everybody is that if you don't know what it is, Google CE5 protocols. The letter C, the letter E, the number 5 protocols. Google it. And if you want to get the phone app, go ahead. You don't need to, but you can if you want. Then I recommend, if you're able to do it, you can do it right now. Click off the video and do the protocols right where you are. And you can make contact with higher dimensional beings. I encourage you, if you're new, you're confused, go on to Facebook and find CE5 groups and get together with other people that have done that and do CE5, because this will connect you to the next realm. They're waiting for you. Those lights that you see in the sky, those aren't ships. Those lights that you see in the sky when you do CE5, those are beings who are tapping through the third dimension. Those are portals to other dimensions. They're beings that are making that happen. So by doing this, you connect to that higher frequency. You get used to it. The next thing that I encourage you to do is to, on my channel, go to the live section and do any of the live guided interdimensional meditations. If you're new, go back in time. Go back, a couple of years and do some of the earlier ones. If you're adventurous, do the ones we're doing now, because we're going off and doing crazy stuff out in the ethers. Do that. That will connect you to higher dimensions. Doing that on a regular basis is making the choice. You're literally choosing to go to the next dimension. Now, until we completely shift, you get to go and then you have to come back. And that can be challenging, being in 2 dimensions, but you have to make the decision to go, and you can. And like I said, it doesn't matter what you've done, it doesn't matter how bad of a person you've been, it doesn't matter how unsuccessful. Everybody gives me excuses and I get angry. People say, I don't know how to meditate. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I've never said you have to know how to meditate. People say, I don't know how to have out-of-body experiences. I don't care. I've never said you have to have that. Make the decision, and the beings and the universe will come to help you, as long as you keep telling yourself. The people who tell me that are the same people who say, I'm not going to do CE5, I'm not going to go reach out to anybody, I'm not going to do interdimensional meditation, or the people who say, yeah, I've got my own thing. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But when you go do CE5, you have to make the decision. You have to take action on that decision, and you are letting other beings know that you are choosing to connect with them. You cannot take it back. Whereas if you sit and you go, yeah, no, I got my own thing, or, well, I don't know how to meditate, then you're giving yourself an excuse not to make a decision and not to take action on it. If I knew another way, I would tell you. This is how I know. I know if you do this, it'll work. I know that. So if it works, don't fix it. All right, I'm done preaching. My friends, I love you very much. If you want to learn more, you can go to contact.thunderwizard.com. If you want me to channel the beings to communicate to you, you can go to channel.thunderwizard.com. And go to thunderwizard.com, click on the menu, and go to memberships. So there's a menu, look for memberships, click on it. And if you're new, sign up for the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. And you can look at all the other ways that you can interact and communicate with me. Then go back to the menu and click on Shop. If you're new, go and look for the Awakening the Immortals Qigong, or the Summoning the Immortals, I forget which word I used. The Summoning the Immortals, the Awakening the Immortals Qigong, and do that. It's cheap, and I guarantee success if you do it with an open heart. My entire life is devoted to giving you the tools to make this shift. So please, for me, take advantage of it. You can put questions in the comments. I read all of the comments. If I believe that they are respectful and interesting, I will respond. If you don't know what you need, but you want to have a session with me, just go, how do I have a session with you? Okay? I love you all, and I am completely, totally committed to all of you making this shift with me. So, with that, my friends, I wish you all the best. Please be very good to yourselves. I will see you all very soon.